So we're gathered here for meditation. By now we should be reflecting in our day-to-day lives. We might notice that our living situation is a little calmer. And I need to thank all of you for bringing me in here, because without us together we don't go anywhere. And what we're doing from the beginning is coming to the stillness behind mind, just to ascertain what is real in our lives and what is not. We're living in a reactionary state to our circumstances. We're not really in control. Somebody else or something else is controlling our journey. And when we learn to pause and to look at the situation before we react, we begin to see a little more clearly. We start looking at the fact of the situation, whatever it is in our lives. In this way, we are lessening being a victim, which is the normal course of events. And you know you're a victim of something if you have a disturbance. We look at love in our life, and we find that truth is above love. Truth is before love. Because without truth, we cannot have love. And then we ask, what is truth? And we look into ourselves, our personal selves. We look into our belief structures, what we believe to be true. And when we look a little deeper, we see this is our conditioning, our conditioned state, wherever we happen to be, wherever we happen to be born into, whatever society it is. We are part of that society and part of that programming. And in this we set up our moralities and our moral codes. And when we look at this clearly, in stillness, we find this is not the truth. So what is true in one society is not true in another. So the truth is not that. We look into our religions. Do we find the truth there? When we look clearly, without any disturbance, just looking at it as it is, we find it's not the truth either. There are reflections of truth, or symbols of truth in all these things. But the actual truth is in my own being, in this body, listening to these words. When I look a little deeper, I realize there is no truth outside of me. I am this truth. Not I, the speaker, but I in your body, the one I in the creation, where life is in the first instance. This is your truth, your true nature. And somewhere in the makeup of the personal self, the persona, that builds upon us in the course of our lives, we lose contact with this truth in my own being. But there is always something within us, brings us home, and that is your integrity. And your integrity, in its purity, is the guardian of truth. This is where your truth is, in you, in your immediate experience. And this might call for you, at times, to stand completely alone against other interpretations, other moral codes. Your integrity is the guardian of truth, your guardian. When you forfeit that, you know in your own being you have forfeited all that is pure within you. And we can look at this in our lives and see where we are coming to the threshold of forfeiting our integrity. What compromise am I making in my life with what I see or I don't want to see is the truth? What compromise am I making with my integrity? In stillness, you realize you cannot compromise your integrity. You either have it or you don't. There is no middle ground. And we can see this within us as the guardian of the threshold of the truth and the purity in you, in your own being. If you tell a lie, which mostly everybody does, are you compromising your integrity? You're tarnishing it, depending on the lie. But you know when you compromise it. Next to truth, in your own being, in your direct experience, is love. And this isn't love according to something or someone. It's not the love of the world, with all the love songs and heartaches. All this is conditional. But the love in your own being, the love that you are in your heart. When you compromise your integrity, love is gone. And you see this in your own experience. You cannot be love if you compromise your integrity, which is truth. And whatever way love expresses itself externally to you is your mirror or your reflection of the truth within you. And this love is always here. It's the love that is natural and pure. It is not an external love. It's within me, the life in the first instance, in that body, in your body. Using the word me, it's to give us a distinction between me and myself. Myself being the person who I think I am, with all its programs, its agendas, and all its disturbances, particularly its wants and its unfulfilled desires. This self, myself, that's driving me on, driving me outwards to the next liaison, to the next achievement, on the belief of having some fulfillment. It comes in many disguises, because myself has myriad faces, myriad masks. But this is not love. Love is never in myself. Love is only in me, integrally, in the body, listening to these words, as in the body speaking them. This is love, within the integrity of my being, of my true nature, whoever or whatever I am. And this is the truth in your experience, not according to what I am saying, but it's the living truth in your direct experience, where you are life in the first instance, in that body. When you compromise this truth by not being true to the situation, to the depth of compromising your integrity, then you've lost love. You've lost all that is love within you. And we could say that love, whatever it is, it's the connection to the source of our being. And this source is something far greater than myself. Whatever this something is, it's an intelligence within this body that's causing this body, or allowing this body, to be here in this form in existence. Myself is not doing this. Although myself, which is the entity of who I think I am, is taking up abode within it, and the cause of all my disturbance. We can see this immediately when you look at the disturbance within you. And that is where you are not getting your life right. That is where you are not being true to the situation. And all I can say about this is, there is no middle ground when it comes to your integrity. You cannot compromise your integrity for the sake of calm or relative peace, for the personal self and the personification of other personal selves in the immediate surroundings. It takes great courage to step out of this self, to let it go, and to come back into the integrity of me in that body, the purity of life that I am, and to be this purity. And if most of your energy is being used up in the world, the external world of the personification of the personified self, when you withdraw your energies from that world, you will find it collapsing. You will find it imploding around you. All that implodes is everything that is false. That is all that implodes. If all of your world implodes, then you know all of it is false. So this is the clearing, the letting go. And this is coming into the death of this personal self. Is there a life after death? That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're coming to in meditation. So all I have to do is look into myself in that body, listening to these words, and just to look intelligently, attentively. And this is calling for very, very swift intelligence to see exactly what I am serving in my world. What am I putting first in my life? What am I placing before the integrity of my true nature? All I have to do intelligently is just to look at it without movement. When I look from stillness without movement, then it becomes clear. If I move on it, I lose sight of it again. Myself will immediately ask me to move, to change something, to start a new relationship, to break off an old relationship, to change something in my life. All I say is to hold the resonance, be still, just be still, and to stay looking. Do nothing, just to stay looking. And in the swiftness of this intelligence, which is real intelligence, then whatever occurs will occur. If you're moving to do it, it's myself. It's myself relocating itself with a new idea, a new ideology, a new notion of putting it right. Myself can't put it right. Myself can't be enlightened. Myself can't be realized. All of that is what myself is trying to attain. Just see it as it is. Then don't be caught in the trap of movement by the self. And that's what we're doing when we come to meditation. We're coming into this place of stillness in our being, to the intelligence behind the brain, as we spoke about many times. Seeing it as it is, exactly as it is. And in the speed of this intelligence, which is your intelligence, your real intelligence, we have very little access to it, because all our energy is being used up supporting the personification, my personal self, and its world, all its constellations, its trouble, what it's trying to do and what it's trying to achieve, moving from one set of wants to the next set of wants arising. So we have very little energy left. We fall into bed in exhaustion. So the only way to regain or to attain more energy is through stillness, by stop wasting it, when we see how it's being wasted. If you are worried about anything, you are being dishonest. And that might seem a harsh statement, but it's true. If you are worried about anything, you are being dishonest. You are not looking at the situation. You are not being true to the facts in front of you. So when you're thinking, when you're moving into the thinking mode, thought structures are there as part of the creation. And we have discovered and done some wonderful things with thought. We've discovered the jet engine. You do it in your own life, in your immediate surrounds. Applied rightly, it's applied to the creation in your immediate sphere. But thought applied to something where worry is arising, worry is thinking without action. The mind of the personal self is just entertaining a circular motion of thinking about something and worrying about something. There is no action. When there is action, there isn't worry. The right thinking is applied to action. That is all we need to see in relation to the personal self. But this self wants to indulge, it wants to work it out, it wants to think it over again, it wants to reassess, it wants to measure. All of this, particularly measurement, is part of the personal self, the personification of who I think I am. And while we're all involved here in the personas of ourselves, out there in the world, and applying ourselves crazily in whatever way we do, behind all of this is me, the life in this body, the life that is in the first instance. I am this life. When I die, physically die, all the constellation of my world will just continue spinning, and I will be quickly forgotten by all those who are dead in your purview since you started this journey. Just quickly forgotten. And yet in our personal selves, we become so entangled in our issues of all importance. I've got to do this, I've got to rush here. We keep crashing. And this is the process of the world. It's normal. This is the normal world of the self. But it's not natural. It's not your true natural state. What's normal is worldly. What's natural is your true nature. And in the course of we coming together here, is to reflect on this, coming back in from our existential wells, back to the stillness behind the projection, to reconnect with who and what we really are. And that is to something, to an intelligence that is far greater than myself, than my petty, silly self. And then we do what we do in the world, and we do it as our duty, but not just as our duty. We do it in service to truth by being true to the situation. And I can check this in my immediate life where there is a disturbance in me. Repeating it again, coming to stillness, total stillness of mind, not entertaining any thought, and just looking at the situation, looking at it exactly as it is, in that all-knowing looking, and the truth presents itself to you. This brings you out of the reactionary state of the play, where you are being a manipulator or you are being manipulated, depending on your role in the play and the circumstances of the relationships in your life. You cannot see this when you're not looking from stillness. As we're going through our time here together and our meditations, it's really coming to this stillness, the calming down of the constellation of our personal lives, coming to the stillness of our being, where we can look impartially, where you can see your love without putting anything on your love, where your love is absolutely free externally, where he or she can leave you right now if that is what they need to do. This is love in freedom. And we are coming to this freedom in our being through our integrity, through being the truth that we are. then we're naturally the love that we are. And then that love serves the creation rightly. There is no want in it. There is no attachment in it. And then whoever is with you in this love, they're not with you because they have to be with you. They're with you in this love, in the freedom of this love. And if they go, if they cannot be with you, then so be it. There is no issue. That's the stillness we're coming to see the truth of our true nature. And understanding this personal self, how it grieves. I see the woman who suddenly lost her husband, and it was terrible consternation. She was just trying to recover from it when her son was killed in an accident. And now she was broken, completely broken. She wasn't able to go on. She was so locked up in her anguish and her grief. And you can identify with this. See this anguish and this grief. And she had other children, but she was unable to be a mother anymore. Where is she not being true to the situation? Where is she not seeing what's going down? What is she serving? And this is how we crash on the particular. The truth is in the fact. Her husband is dead. Her son is dead. The truth is in the fact. She is alive. Her children are alive. So she is crashing on her grief. And this grief is the same selfishness that's driving ourselves in all the actions we're doing during the day. This is self-centered, the selfishness of the personification of who I think I am. How can I go on? My love has left me, my child is dead. How can I go on? Misplaced love. There is no freedom there. Freedom to let them go and to serve love in the immediacy of what's around you. That's the love we speak of. Seeing and knowing and understanding that. Without attachment. And of course the body grieves if your loved one dies. Of course the body grieves, it's quite natural. But if I crash on it, if I perpetuate it to the extent of being totally devastated by it, going on indefinitely, well then it's myself. It's my loss. I'm grieving for myself, for my loss. I'm not grieving for anyone else, just myself. And even though this pitiful self sees two already physically gone, dead, it goes on in its grieving, in its selfishness. It too will be gone. We all pass on. All bodies pass on. Where is the self then? So we have to be intelligent enough, swift enough to see it exactly as it is. The body grieves is quite natural. We do not crash on it. My love leaves me. It's quite natural. I do not crash on it. Stillness. Stillness is the way. The woman coming to stillness, looking at the situation, looking at the grief, looking at the truth of the situation, not giving her comfort and condolence as the world does, which is not a very helpful or a very loving thing to do, but bringing your attention to seeing it exactly as it is, seeing the fact exactly as it is. See, what are you grieving? It's myself, my loss, not getting what it wants, not getting its own way, losing its job, losing its position in society, losing whatever. Myself, this personification. Seeing it exactly as it is, that's the greatest gift, and that is love. That is the only way the woman is released from her self-pity, her self-anguish, come back into the service and love of her other children, and move on with her life. So we're not here to comfort anyone, particularly the self. We're here in this process together to destroy, absolutely destroy this personification by seeing through it, seeing it exactly as it is, and coming to the depth and the deep intelligence of my true nature in this body, listening to these words. Never compromising that, because this here is my integrity, not just me the speaker, but the integrity that you are in your body, life in the first instance. And very gradually we are speeding up to this intelligence, to this true cosmic nature, to be cosmically conscious to what we really are. And it's a drip-drip situation, because the personification has a vested interest, but still we move forward, closer to passing through the eye of the needle, the total dissolution or dissolving of my personification. Only then can I be love. Only then, not before then. That's where we're looking, that's where we're going. That's where we are. Any questions? Questions are good. They are here to reflect and to release anything that's prohibiting me or blocking me from seeing deeper into my true nature. If there's a disturbance arising in me, it's an emotion. That emotion is reflecting where I am compromising my true nature, where I am compromising my true being. Myself cannot fix it. It's just to see it at this speed, just to see it exactly as it is in your own being. And from there, the transcendence occurs. True looking. Only true looking. You mustn't move on it. Just see it. In the seeing, the transcendence occurs. According to my attachments is prohibited. According to my needs or wants for a particular outcome is prohibited. Myself is the barrier to my integrity, to my true nature. So we are not transcending the divide within us. We are dissolving the outer skins, the mantles, dismantling the self bit by bit, coming into this inner truth, this speed of intelligence within us. So if we're ready in this stillness, come to meditation. That is the only purpose of meditation, is a process of bringing the mind and body into one location, bringing us to this stillness where any thoughts that are arising, not moving on them, not engaging them, just seeing them for what they are. And what we normally do is we connect to the sensation of life in the body. The sensation of life comes before the senses. You go right back into the womb, the sensation of life is there. Your body, before the senses are activated. And we're coming into this sensation of life in our true nature by letting the mind fall still. And knowing that everything is all right now. Any disturbance arising in me, just letting it fall into the stomach, knowing that deep within me, the stomach is a psychic furnace. And this furnace transforms energy. By just focusing on our true nature, just me in the body, this life that I am, and connecting to the well-being in the body, the inner beauty in the well-being, and coming in just a tingling sensation in the flesh, on the lips and the cheeks of the face, just coming on in, the shape of the head, just being conscious of the sensation, coming down the throat very gently, being conscious of the body frame, the sensation in the chest, feel it in the lungs, just feel the connection of love between the air and the fluid in the lungs, the moisture, coming on down to the stomach, the buttocks supporting the body, the legs, the feet, the toes, the space between the toes. Feel the sensation in the arms, the hands, the fingers, the air between the fingers, the palms of the hands. Let it extend to the whole body. Just letting everything go, letting everything drop down to the stomach, and connecting with the solar plexus. Just be aware of the inner spiral into your deep inner space. You're descending down the spiral into the subtle body, into formless life. And staying in this space of stillness, you're being enriched. And just staying focused on the well-being in your body, just the well-being in the sensation of life. Just observe the connection between the subtle body and the physical. And behind the subtle body is formless life. And letting our attention come outwards to the sensation into the physical body, let us re-enter the external world of the senses, bringing the stillness with us. And wherever there's a disturbance in my life, it is nothing external to me. The disturbance always comes from within, where I am not being true to the situation, where I am looking through interpretation, through how I want it to be, or how I want to see it. And coming from this place of stillness, you're looking at the fact as it is. No interpretation, no mind. Then seeing it as it is, the situation changes accordingly. And this is getting my life right. This is bringing meditation into my daily life. As we said before, meditation is not a practice. If you're sitting practicing meditation, it just becomes another drug, another support for the personal self. What we are doing here is cultivating our attentiveness to the stillness behind the mind, and having cultivated this stillness, then we apply it to our immediate lives. When the child is crying, instead of reacting to the child, we are looking from the stillness and seeing what's expressing itself through the child. That gives the child space to see what's expressing itself through itself. The child cannot see this when you are reacting to it, feeding it, or denying it. It's the stillness that the child sees as well. Children are very close to this because they are less contaminated by the mind, the development of the persona, the personification, less contaminated than adults. Your truth is the most precious part of you. It's the most precious that you have, your inner truth, and it should never be compromised. The extraordinary thing is when you move into this space and trust it, just trust it, even as a person, trust it, then whatever needs to happen, happens. And we're looking at phenomenal integral power here, the power of your true nature. I try to refer to it by words, the elixir of life, the alchemy of our being, but these are just symbols or reflections. Only you can know in your own direct experience. All I can say is, trust it, as I trust it. Even if it's the death of me, just trust it. And you are finding in this stillness, in your day-to-day living, and your attentive observation of yourself, it's only yourself you can look at, and how it's interacting with other persons, other masks around it. You're seeing it expressing its disappointments, not being able to get what it wants at times, or getting it and discovering it doesn't want it. And you're just looking at that, just looking. And in that looking it's dissolving, and the intelligence that you are is speeding up, coming back into your true nature. That is our focus, our attentiveness. Because no matter how much you love externally, no matter how many objects you love, or persons you love, it's all of passing consequence. All of it is passing consequence. It's just a fleeting moment. And as you go deeper into your being, you look out at your life, and you see all of the living process. It's just a fleeting moment. And in the absolute stillness of the integral part of your being, all is clear. You're looking at the wholeness of your life. You're seeing your journey from the beginning, and the more attentive you are, the more of it you see, the clearer you see it. The physical brain is shielded from this. Being the projector, it's only seeing what's directly in front of it, which is that second behind the infinitesimal speed of this moment, where life always is. So as persons, we live in the past. Everything is past. Our whole mind procedure is past. When you use the mind to try and understand what we're looking at here, you're using the past. The mind works from memory. Memory is yesterday. That's always dissolving. There is no intelligence in yesterday. The intelligence is in the immediacy of now. And that's what we're doing here, coming up to the speed of this intelligence that you are. We all feel the benefit of this, and we all know where it's going in our own lives. And that in itself is good, because you are doing it. I'm only speaking it. It's a great privilege to speak it, and I acknowledge that. but I'm only speaking it. It's happening in you. And the real happening is in a place much deeper within you, where it's being done, much deeper within you. Because opening yourself to this, you are moving on, and there's no going back. You cannot go back. When it opens to the frontal lobes of your consciousness, you cannot unsee what you see. And the closer you come to your center, the more inclined you are to serve it rightly, and to be at every moment of your life, where there are no rules, no regulations, no moral codes, nothing impeding the truth of your integrity. See, your truth, your integrity. Not what the speaker says, not what anyone says. It is your inner truth. And there, all the speaker can say is, never compromise that inner integrity. That truth is above love. When you never compromise that, then you have love in your life, because you are love. And all the false will fall away. And who wants a false love? So it's not comfort, is it? It's not comfort we're seeking. Comfort is for the self.
There's complete comfort in the freedom of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The personal self is just something I've been noticing recently, that I'm not very good at remembering my childhood, not because I had a bad childhood or anything, it's just very, very bad all my life trying to remember back. But as of the last few months, 2 months, 3 months, I have vivid memories of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And the vivid memories are of rolling in grass. But it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't important. It was truly alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I see now that, I guess, that's what's important. Not how dirty your clothes get, or food tasted better when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We've moved away. We're so contained in an image and our everything looking or being right. We're missing the whole experience of living.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I got from my childhood. It hit me hard when you said there a while ago about the children are very, very close to this.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I think I'm remembering my childhood now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I'm coming back to my source.
Yes.
Moving away from the bullshit
Mm-hmm.
persona.
And when you stay looking at what you're seeing, and you begin to realize you're not actually remembering it, you're actually seeing it.
Yeah, it feels very real.
It's seeing, and in that seeing there is no memory, because it's the connectedness of it to your true nature, to your primal truth.
There's definitely weird things shifting in my life
Yes.
because of this.
That's how it is. When you see it, and then the images flash of remembrance, but only through seeing it, and they're very vivid and very clear.
Very emotional.
This is exactly where you are at that moment. You see a wheel and the circumference of the wheel out on the tire and the rim, bicycle wheels, see? That's where your living process is going on. You've got lots of spokes on a bicycle wheel into the center right in the hub. And it doesn't matter which spoke you come into the center, you still arrive at you're still at the same center. And when you're a child, and when you touch the purity of your center, which you do several times as a child, and then as an adult, and something just snaps, and you touch the purity of your center again, and you realize there you are as a child. It's the same center. Not only is it the same center, it's the same moment. Now the mind cannot get a grip on that. It's the same moment as it's going out the spiral. And that's the speed of consciousness we're looking at cosmically. As you touch it as an adult, as you touched it as a child, it's the same moment. That extends beyond time, because we're looking from the other side. But looking from this side, the brain picks it up and the mind registers it as a memory. And that's the existential part of the personal self, trying to personify it, do something with it. But it's actually the same moment. As you stay looking, and I don't want to put anything out there, but as you stay looking, you see the future as well, in the center, at that center point. It's all there. It's already done. And I only speak from within my own experience. Otherwise I'm going outside of it and it's more rubbish. It's your center. And these are the intonations or flashes that you get, that you are the little girl or you are the little boy, 2 or 3, 4 years old, 7 years old. And you're also the woman, the man. And it's also done. All of it is also done. And that's the phenomenal speed of our intelligence that's immediate to us when we come to stillness, when we come out of the periphery where we're crashing, just coming in the spokes to the center of the wheel, where you always are, before, during and after. That's the time span that appears around it through the projection. And this is bringing us back to the idea of now people talk about, mostly not knowing what they talk about when it's intellectual, but that's experiencing it in your own being. And when you're in the shower the next time, just look at the water flowing down your hands. Just look at your hands. See the water flowing over them externally. And look at your hands internally as well. Just look at them. See the beauty in the hands. And hold them just a little bit apart as the water flows over them. And just connect to the sensation of the energy between the palms. Just in that stillness. That's connecting with the sensation in the shower. Coming to stillness. Feeling it. Entering it. And letting it happen. Being conscious of this state all the time in your day-to-day life. Being aware of it in your own being. And being aware of it in your own being keeps it open. It's opening the door for those immediate to you. It's the same. It's the same oneness. But it takes us out of the crashing process of the world crowding in on you. This is not reneging the world, because then whatever you do, you're doing it rightly, and you're doing it effectively, diligently, and you're impacting rightly on the world that's appearing around you. You're not crashing on it, trying to fix it. But there's no fixing here. There's just looking, and after looking, just seeing, with no movement. And then it freaks you out a little bit, when you just get an intonation of it now and again, or a swift reminder. But there's also a sense of privilege in your being, in your well-being. This sense of privilege that I am this life, I am this beauty, I am all of this. As a little boy rolling in the fields, as the man, as the old man, as all of it done. The great privilege of just this flash. All it is a flash, comparatively speaking, to the vastness of it all. And you're here because you're serving this. You see this. That's why the world isn't here. But you're here. And this is the way out. The way out is in your being. You, the individual. The world, the masses, is just tumbling, cascading along. Nothing is real. There is no integrity out there. Just cascading from one set of crisis to another. A movement and a shifting of consequences. Wars and consternations. All driven on the greed of the personified self, masquerading as billions of selves. You see it. And when your child is coming at you with demands or wants or screaming, you're looking, just looking from the stillness without reacting, no movement. And in that stillness, the child is given space to see what's coming out through itself. And that's the greatest gift you can give to the child, that stillness, for the child to see it in itself, not the other way around. Say it's wrong to do that, this is against the law. That's not the way you should act. That's the way of the world. The child is given the stillness to see it in itself. It transcends it. So when I move to strike out at someone because someone upsets me, what is being upset? Is it me or is it myself? Just staying looking, it's myself. So myself wants to react, to go back out there and to hurt that person, or to say, you hurt me, you shouldn't do that to me, cause me this pain. This is myself. Without moving, just looking, seeing it rising in me, in my presence. I only see it in stillness. And that's what meditation is all about, bringing us to that stillness. It's not a practice, it's not a habit, it's not a replacement or a comfort zone for this self. It's helping me to see myself. And that's transcendence. That's moving into my true cosmic nature. And all our lives are changing, doing it together as one. From my observation, looking out through these eyes, I see how this stillness in all of us is functioning and working through me. So the swiftness of it is going out there, it's going out into the projection around us. And I see the love in all of you. No condition, just love. Mary?
I'm smiling. I've really enjoyed this tonight.
Thank
It was
you.
wonderful.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Radka?
Yeah, I'm enjoying all of this. It's been amazing.
Thank you. How's it with you, Steve?
I feel it great. Just the last few months. And great help in my life.
Yes.
I used to carry an awful lot of pain with me.
Yeah.
It just dissolved. It's just dissolved.
Yeah.
I don't think constantly,
Yeah.
of bad things that happened to me in the past.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. Really, really good.
When you see that it dissolves, you just let it go, and then you're no longer imprisoned by these ghosts of the past. That's all they are, these ghosts. But we hang on to them.
That's exactly it, yeah.
And then somebody mentions a name or something, and up it pops. The disturbance comes, and this entity of myself comes in to feast on it with all the churning.
I find it great. Really good.
Yeah, just looking and letting it dissolve. Yeah, there's nowhere to go when you shine a torch on it. It's very good. How are you, John?
Very well.
Very
well.
It's good.
Everything is easier to deal with.
Yeah.
Daily basis.
Yeah, that's good. It's coming out. Then that's meditating rightly. It's applying it rightly into your immediate life. You could be a monk for 50 years in Tibet or somewhere, and it's not much good to you if you're not applying it to your daily life. I give more to the farmers, feeding them. Yeah. How about you, Pat?
I'm enjoying learning to be still and to stop and just to be still without thinking and looking at what I'm doing in life.
Yeah. Great beauty in it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just being in that stillness and looking out, even if somebody's screaming at you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It falls away. Yeah. How about you, Joe?
Things really fell into place tonight. It's not like you haven't spoken about these things before,
Yeah.
but they seem to mesh together tonight.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. We're speaking about the same thing every night, just approaching it in different ways, but it's the very, very same thing. Because when we're speaking about stillness, there is no speaking. So we're just circumferencing it all the time, bringing us back in. And we keep on doing that. That's just bringing it home, isn't it? So it's not a lecture or a learning process. It's awakening the self to this speed of consciousness within your being. And then the self, the troublesome self, starts dissolving. Because it's you creating the environment to allow it to happen. I'm just a mouthpiece outside of it. So it's your projection, really. So it is all of you, even the speaker. As strange as it seems, it is all coming from the inner space. Your inner space. How about you, Billy?
Here there seems to be a growing acceptance that the character here isn't going to fix anything.
Yeah.
No need for this character to fix anything. And even though that's not something that's there all the time, but it is something that seems to be more prevalent in my thinking.
Yeah.
There's a comfort in that, and I'm hoping it's just not another ego thing that I'm fooling myself with. But you know, it's been there for a while now, and it's quite a restful experience. So I'm anxious anxious. I'd like to stay with it.
Yeah. And that's very big for Billy, because Billy has followed this in philosophy and everything else. And in philosophy, which is also good, all these applications are good. But philosophy is speeding up the mind, speeding up the persona. I can work it out. I can work it out through reason. And of course you can work things out through reason. We have reason here for applying ourselves to our work, our jobs, and our living processes. But coming to stillness, we can't do it through reason. We've got to only do it by letting everything go. And in philosophy we have what you call practical philosophy. It's called, what I would call it is rational logic. And rational logic puts second things first. There's pure logic is what we're looking at here. Rational means to rationalize, or to divide into rations, which means division. So we're dissecting, we're breaking it up into many parts, and we're analyzing it. And this is how we progress through the mental process, through the intellectual process. And when we go a long way in this direction, the self has a vested interest in all it has appeared to have achieved, and it gets very, very crystallized. And this is the ignoring factor of my true nature. So now myself, who I think I am, saying I am a realized being, I am a wise man or woman, I am the enlightened one, actually believes it through its rational logic. And you have the world full of gurus. Went to the USA, they were going over in their thousands from India. It's all a good circus, it's all a good show. Everything serves itself in its own purpose, in its own place and time, and in the existential part of the play. But it's not the truth, and it is compromising the truth. When you go behind anyone and follow anyone, if the speaker says he knows and he's a guru, forget it. That's the rubbish that contaminates us. It's your truth, it's your being, it's your space. So it's easier for the child, the innocence, it's not contaminated. But when we go into adolescence, we adulterate the truth, and we build very, very strong belief structures and philosophies on it. And coming out of that, it's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to get out of that. Because now I have a crystallization around me. I have a vested interest in all I've done. It's very difficult. And the self is all the time putting itself up. Okay, this is another avenue, this is another avenue, this is another avenue. And I've met seekers around the world. Thankfully I was in places through innocence, through no direction of my own. It just happened that way. People seeking for 40, 50, 60 years. And their frustration is astute, because they cannot find what they're seeking. They cannot come to this stillness of letting it go and letting it happen in your true nature. So we have to be careful of the intellectual mind, because the intellectual mind is not intelligence. It's a crystallization of my ignorance. And I know that too, because I've been down the roads. I've been into the educational streams, did my postgraduate in philosophy, so I could ramble along about many things. I think, therefore I am, or I am, therefore I think. Went to reasoning both ways, keep going around in circles. But it's all the self, it's all my personification. I've seen some of the greatest philosophers, some of the greatest, in the hospitals, their minds gone, Alzheimer's setting in. Say to the philosopher, where is your philosophy now? So we've got to be very careful what we come dependent on existentially. But as Billy is saying, knowing that it's in me, in the body receiving these words. I don't have to go anywhere or study anything. If I had to go anywhere and study anything, then there wouldn't be any integrity in truth. Because a simple farmer who's living on top of the mountains, if there was no integrity, he'd have no access to it. The Aborigine has to have equal access to the philosopher. Otherwise it's not the truth. So staying with the simplicity of it and returning to the innocence that I am as a child. Just being that innocence. There is no need to remember anything. It's already immediate. You don't have to remember love. You just know love. You are love. No memory there. Except when you existentialize it, put it onto an object or another person, another thing, and then it's no longer love. I'd like to thank you all for helping me to be in this space. You are my dream. Shall we come to stillness? And just being aware of the beauty in my well-being, in the body, this one body listening to these words. Just connecting to this inner beauty behind the mind. Just touching the vastness of it all, the vastness of formless life coming through me. This is my truth. This is my integrity. This is where love shines.